At first glance, the WWW Worldwide Wrestling seemed like your typical wrestling promotion. Flashy entrances, wild characters, and chaotic matches that kept fans on the edge of their seats. But beneath the surface lies something much darker. What most people don't see is the hidden world behind the curtain, a world plagued by drug use, disturbing lost media, incidents of real-life gun violence, and massive conspiracies that some believe were never meant to be uncovered. This is the WWW Iceberg Explained, and once we start descending, there's no turning back. Level 1. The Freak vs. Super Freak. On October 31st, 1999, the WWW aired the annual pay-per-view Halloween Hangover. One of the most hyped matches of the night was a bizarre Nightmare Rules bout between Super Freak and the Freak, accompanied by his manager, known only as the Freak's manager. But just as the match was starting, the live feed abruptly cut to black. It stayed down for nearly 40 minutes. When the broadcast returned, the match was never mentioned again, and has never been seen since.
We had some technical difficulties. This is a continuation to Halloween Hangover. And upcoming now is Dragon High.
Why was it cut? No one knows for sure, but theories include a power outage triggered by overloaded equipment, though no other parts of the arena lost electricity, a last-minute intervention by the Humane Society, who reportedly received a tip to intervene on the Freak's behalf, the claim that a fan jumped the barricade and attacked Super Freak soon after, resulting in chaos too graphic for air, and the most bizarre theory, that the match's script included a sequence referencing a real government black site, and someone inside WWW was warned to pull the plug or face consequences. No footage has ever surfaced. No explanation has ever been given. The Halloween Hangover match remains one of the WWW's most chilling mysteries. Kane Zoo vs. NOLD, the lost match. In the summer of 1998, the WWW held an event at a Missouri fairground called Summertime Turmoil. Among the lesser-known matches was a non-televised bout between the jungle-themed masked wrestler Kane Zoo and the debut of Night of the Living Dead, a silent, zombie-like figure with no known background, no promo footage, and no prior appearances. No full footage has ever surfaced. The only known clips appear briefly, just seconds long, in a montage used for the intro to later re-release events on VHS. However, none of the original audio can be heard. Oddly enough, the only existing audio we have is during NOLD's entrance that includes a one-time used entrance theme. So what really happened during the lost match at Summertime Turmoil? Some of the leading theories include that the match was pulled for being too violent, with whispers of a botched spot involving the wrestler Chip suffering a broken skull. That Kane Zoo began speaking in an unidentifiable dialect mid-match, not Spanish, not Portuguese, but something experts have called impossibly obscure or possibly invented. One claim even suggests that the footage was intentionally removed after a brief blackout occurred during the match, causing several ringside fans to complain of nausea, disorientation, and hearing voices over the PA system. Why the footage was buried and why only fragments were left in official materials remains a mystery. But for fans who've studied the WWW's strangest moments, this match stands out, not just because it's lost, but because of the uneasy feeling that surrounds it. Ashley's trainer has a gun. One of the strangest and most unsettling moments in WWW history aired during a taped episode in the summer of 1998. Meant to be a light-hearted segment, it quickly spiraled into something far more disturbing. The segment featured Ashley the wrestling dog, a small schnauzer trained to perform simple tricks and routines alongside her handler, longtime WWW personality and animal trainer Terry Todd. They were in the ring demonstrating Ashley's training session, all to warm applause from the crowd. But just minutes into the segment, things went off the rails. Without warning, the arena lights dimmed, and the entrance theme of Skull, a brutal, no-nonsense brawler known for unpredictable behavior, hit the speakers. Skull wasn't advertised. He had no feud with Todd or the dog, but he stormed down the ramp anyway, face locked in a cold stare. Once in the ring, Skull choked Terry Todd to the mat, then turned his attention to Ashley. The small schnauzer tried to retreat behind, but Skull lunged forward, pummeling with closed fists, yelling something inaudible over the commotion. When two members of security slid into the ring to break it up, Skull fought them off, choke slamming them to the ring. Then, in one of the most controversial moments ever broadcast by the WWW, Terry Todd crawled to the edge of the ring, reached into his gear bag, and pulled out a handgun. The last image before the camera cut to black was Todd standing upright, shaking, and firing a single shot into the air, sending the arena into panic as the screen went black. The segment was never rebroadcast, and no statement was ever issued by the WWW. Skull continued appearing in storylines with no mention of the incident. Terry Todd disappeared from television entirely. As for Ashley, no one knows what became of her. Shotgun Ponyboy's hair. In the world of wrestling, hair has always been a symbol of pride, character, and identity. But few hair-related moments in WWW history sparked more confusion and controversy than the feud between Shotgun Ponyboy and his longtime friend turned rival, Tiger Tooth. Shotgun Ponyboy was known for his long, flowing ponytail, which he claimed was untouched since '91 and part of his outlaw image. But on a 1999 episode of Fight Night, that all changed. In a backstage segment, Shotgun was cutting a promo alongside his friend Tiger Tooth, a jungle-themed high flyer. When the tone suddenly shifted, Tiger Tooth grew agitated, apologizing for accusing Ponyboy of riding on looks, not grit. Without warning, he grabbed the back of Shotgun's head and ripped the ponytail clean off. It wasn't just a haircut. It came off in one piece, like a costume wig. Gasps from the crew were audible.
He pulled his hair right off. Oh no!
Shotgun fell to the floor, covering his head as Tiger Tooth held the ponytail in the air and walked off. A feud was born overnight. The following week, the two were forced into opposite sides of a tag match. Tiger Tooth teamed with a recruit, a former military-style heel, while Shotgun Ponyboy joined up with Kane Zoo, still reeling from his own bizarre match months earlier. But fans were no longer sure what they were watching, or who Shotgun really was. The controversy. The WWW never addressed the incident again. Not the wig, not the deception, not the fact that Shotgun's signature trait had been fake the entire time. Some fans believe it was all part of a deeper storyline that was abruptly dropped due to backstage politics. Others claim Shotgun was never meant to wrestle without the ponytail, and that it being revealed as fake derailed his entire gimmick. And then there are those who insist the segment wasn't scripted at all, that Tiger Tooth went off the cuff after a real-life argument and exposed the truth on live TV. Whatever the case, Shotgun Ponyboy quietly disappeared from WWW programming for a few months later to appear at the Royal Rumble, but the ponytail was never seen again. And one of the most unsettling moments in WWW history occurred during a 1997 episode of Fight Night, during a chaotic and oddly comedic match between Nuclear Bomb and Crooked Creep, two gimmick-heavy wrestlers known for their offbeat violence. Crooked Creep, wearing oversized boxing gloves, spent the early part of the match wildly swinging at Nuclear Bomb, who had entered the ring in full with a literal joust. But the absurdity didn't stop there. Midway through, the match devolved into what commentators called an impromptu battleship match, with the two lay across from each other calling out grid coordinates and flipping real plastic game boards between headlocks and slaps. It was pure WWW chaos until the tone shifted completely. Mid-match, the arena's PA system suddenly cut in over the crowd noise with the following message.
There's a little girl named Angie. Please pick her up.
There was a few seconds of silence. Then, the voice began to laugh. It wasn't a comical laugh. It was slow, distorted, like someone holding down the mic too long before the audio cut out entirely. To this day, no missing persons report connected to an Angie at the venue has ever been verified. Some insiders claim the PA system was briefly hijacked by a disgruntled former employee. Others suggest the message was part of an experimental storyline that was immediately scrapped after backlash. But the darkest theory, that Angie was real and what we heard wasn't a prank, but a genuine emergency buried in the middle of jousts and plastic board games, never investigated and never resolved. Level 2. The Tito Guerrero Incident. In the early 2000s, the WWW aired a short-lived talk show called WWW Behind the Scenes, mostly used to promote wrestler side projects. But one episode featured something unexpected, a brief, grainy clip from a match that has since become infamous lost media. The match featured masked luchador Tito Guerrero against a strange fill-in wrestler known only as the Sub, whose gimmick was simple. He'd replace any scheduled wrestler who couldn't perform. The Sub was a blank slate, no music, no promos, no reactions from the crowd. In the only surviving clip, shown casually by Tito while promoting a movie, we see him hit a clean double axe handle off the top rope. He climbs up again for a second. Then, without warning, a large glass bulb above the ring explodes. Glass rains down. Tito is mid-air. The Sub stumbles. But instead of chaos, there's this eerie moment where both men just freeze, awkwardly looking around, confused, covered in shards, unsure if the match should continue. The clip cuts there. No full footage has ever surfaced. It's believed the original tape was accidentally recorded over during a batch re-edit for a later broadcast. Some think it was a freak accident. Others say it was sabotage. Either way, the brief glimpse we have, thanks to a casual movie promo, is all that remains. Travis Young. On December 23, 1999, during a Fight Night broadcast, viewers witnessed one of the most awkward and quickly buried segments in WWW history. New backstage interviewer Travis Young was seen awkwardly waiting outside a hallway bathroom. As co-owner Tim Noack stepped out, Travis began an unplanned interview about the recent scandal involving wrestler Sammy Scott, who'd been caught with drugs and accused of assaulting his wife. From the start, Travis was stumbling over his words. Referencing the assault as, quote, a thingy, Tim, clearly annoyed, tried to stay composed until he briefly stepped to the side to answer a call. In that moment, as Travis was checking himself in the mirror, brought a small spray nozzle to his nose and snorted an unknown substance. The camera caught it clearly. Tim immediately ended the call, turned back, and snapped. He shouted, "You're fired." "You too, camera guy, shut it off." The feed cut seconds later. Travis Young was never seen or mentioned on WWW again. The footage never re-aired. Travis Young was never mentioned again, and neither the WWW nor Tim Noack issued a public statement. Some speculate that the substance was your typically nasal spray. Others suspect that it was the controversial substance Crazy Sauce. Whatever the case, Travis was not suited for the interview and WWW wanted to bury this incident. Lost pay-per-views. Next, we're lumping two major events into one entry, not because they were connected by storyline or location, but because they both fall into the same strange category. Nearly completely lost pay-per-views. We're talking about Royal Rumble 2000 and WrestleMania, two of WWW's biggest shows ever promoted, and now almost entirely gone. These were meant to be marquee events, the peak of WWW's wild era. But today, all that remains are fleeting, damaged clips, none longer than a few seconds. The most infamous include a shot of Vulture's entrance, swinging in from a second-story window in full Crow makeup, a dim, shaky clip of a hardcore brawl between Messy Boy and the Phantom, with light tubes and what appears to be a shopping cart on fire, rapid-fire snippets from the Freshies vs 12 Gauge and Federal, Tito Guerrero vs Larida, and Danger's entrance punching through his logo, all of it with distorted sound and glitchy tape lines. That's it. No full matches, no commentary, no clean footage, just scraps. These were also said to be the final pay-per-views before WWW quietly folded. No official explanation was given, and fans have been speculating ever since. Some of the most enduring theories include that the master tapes were accidentally put in a WWF tape case that had to be returned to Blockbuster, that internal drama between the Noak brothers led to a deliberate purge of archival content, and perhaps the strangest, that WrestleMania was never actually held, and the footage is a mashup of dark matches and rehearsal tapings passed off as a real event, a kind of fake pay-per-view ghost show. Whatever the truth is, these two shows are the biggest holes in the WWW timeline, and until the full footage surfaces, if it ever does, they remain little more than shadows of something we were never meant to see.
The Flower Incident. In early 2000, the WWW held a pay-per-view, now known only as the Flower Show, an event many believe caused the company's sudden, month-long hiatus. The card itself was standard chaos, until a strange pattern emerged. Nearly every match featured a wrestler throwing flour into their opponent's face. By the end of the night, the ring was buried under a thick white coating. Wrestlers were slipping, choking, botching spots. A ref even left mid-match coughing. The venue's ventilation was overwhelmed, and further tapings were quietly delayed for weeks, then months. No official reason was given, but theories include the flour caused equipment damage and possible venue fines. Every wrestler thought they were the only one doing the flour spot, leading to accidental overuse. And the strangest, that after the mess, the Noak brothers were so in deep, they got the entire roster grounded. No full footage exists, just 3-second clips with one of the wrestlers muttering, "This was supposed to be sugar." Crazy Man's Crazy Sauce. Mid-card mayhem was the backbone of WWW, and few wrestlers embodied that chaos better than Crazy Man, a manic brawler known for his unpredictable style, twitchy promos, and a mysterious substance he called Crazy Sauce. Crazy Man started as a background member of the heel faction AEWF, but following a backstage split angle, he defected to a short-lived spin-off called the AWF Tribe, which leaned more into surreal, unhinged characters. What made Crazy Man stand out wasn't just his erratic movements or his tendency to scream mid-match. It was the Crazy Sauce. Presented as a red or green liquid in an unmarked plastic bottle, he would chug it before matches, sometimes during promos, always claiming it unlocked the mind. The crowd ate it up. Commentators never explained it. No one really knew what was in it. But outside the ring, Crazy Man's legal issues began to mount. Multiple public disturbance charges at live events. One arrest for starting a fire in a motel lobby after allegedly mixing Crazy Sauce with lighter fluid. Rumors of being banned from 3 states due to erratic behavior during tour stops. Speculation grew that the sauce wasn't just a gimmick, that it contained real, mind-altering substances and was part of a growing list of concerns the company quietly swept under the rug. When the AWF Tribe fizzled out, so did Crazy Man's run. His last known appearance was a 2001 dark match where he tried to pour Crazy Sauce on the ref and was tackled by security mid-ring. To this day, no one knows what was in Crazy Sauce, but its legacy lives on in blurry screenshots, scattered arrest records, and a small group of fans still selling replica bottles at indie shows. Level 3. Zack Savage has a gun. In 1998, a match between Danger and Skull took a turn that forced the WWW to cut its broadcast mid-show, an event now known simply as the Zack Savage incident. It began with Danger cutting a promo, accusing Skull of targeting weaker opponents. He issued a live open challenge, and the match began as a brutal brawl. But near the end, Zack Savage, a mid-carder seated quietly ringside, suddenly entered the ring holding a handgun. Skull turned and snapped. The screen immediately cut to technical difficulties, and the show never returned. Zack Savage was never seen on WWW again. No statement, no recap, nothing. Some of the more out there theories include Zack was under the influence of crazy sauce and believed the match was real. The gunshot opened a legal loophole that voided WWW's broadcasting license for weeks. The entire segment was meant to summon an actual curse tied to the arena's construction. And one theory claims that Zack wasn't Zack, but a stunt double planted by a rival promotion to sabotage the show from within. Old Man Joe was a fixture in WWW, a rugged, slow-talking brawler with a career that stretched from the late 70s to his retirement in 2000. He headlined a legendary chain match in 1983, one of the bloodiest bouts in WWW's early history. But in his later years, Joe became better known for a disturbing gimmick. He'd walk to the ring accompanied by several women in plain, everyday clothes and yell,
Don't look my lady!
Behind the scenes, rumors swirled. Some staff claimed the women weren't hired talent. Others said Joe insisted on bringing them himself, off-book. After retiring, Joe's name resurfaced in 2003 when he was arrested for trespassing, wire fraud, and solicitation outside a Denny's. 2 years later, while serving time, Joe died in what officials called an unforeseeable accident. No further details were made public. Theories spread quickly that Joe had been using his gimmick to solicit prostitution under the guise of performance, that his death in prison was not accidental but a cover-up tied to what he knew, or that the ladies were part of a long-abandoned storyline, one that blurred too far into reality. Evil Earl's hostage situation. At the 1999 pay-per-view, Broken Down, a TV title match between fan-favorite Piranha and newly turned heel Dizzy D, with his unhinged manager Evil Earl, became one of the most disturbing moments in WWW history. The match was intense, with Dizzy D taking control, but Piranha refused to stay down until Evil Earl pulled a gun and aimed it at Piranha mid-ring, forcing him to lay down for the pin. After the bell, as Dizzy celebrated, Piranha got on the mic and demanded a rematch at Halloween Hangover. With Earl locked in a cage before he could finish, Earl turned the gun on Piranha again, taking him hostage right there in the ring, when a fan yelled from the crowd,
Hey, yo! Are you going to show me the leg?
Earl turned and shot him in the leg. The feed immediately cut. Theories persist. The gun was real, and the injury settled quietly out of court. The entire segment was off-script, and Dizzy D was reportedly furious backstage. Some believe Evil Earl was never meant to be part of the match at all, and went rogue. Birds Arena. 1999. WWW taped a full episode of Fight Night at a new venue called Birds Arena, complete with live commentary, a full roster, and matches packed with chair spots. It was hyped in advance, but when the air date came, the episode never aired and has been completely lost ever since. The only known footage of Birds Arena comes from a Mortal Kombat tournament held around the same time. In that Sega-sponsored clip, you can briefly see the WW ring and commentary table still set up in the background. No match footage, no commentary audio, nothing. Theories include a serious in-ring injury led to the episode being scrapped. a power failure corrupted the tape. Or the wildest theory, a fan jumped the rail, grabbing cameraman and stealing the tape along with the cameraman. Whether scrapped, covered up, or simply forgotten, these lost moments from WWW bizarre history paint a picture of a company teetering between chaos and collapse. What's fact, what's fiction, and what's buried forever? We may never know. Mick Foley, joining WWW. In early 2020, a strange piece of footage surfaced, a self-recorded phone video of none other than Mick Foley addressing the WWW directly. Leaning into the camera from outside a home, Foley vents his frustration, saying,
"Hardcore champ Phantom, I'm the hardcore, I'm the, that belt better have my face on it, my likeness. You guys should be getting down, paying tribute to the roads that I paved for you guys. And now,
He goes on to call out several WWW wrestlers by name, including Creature Mickey the Mink, and especially the Phantom, the reigning hardcore champion at the time. He ends the clip with,
"Have a nice day."
Whether it was a serious pitch or just a playful jab, one thing is clear: Mick Foley wanted in, and for whatever reason, WWW never answered. Level 4. Bloody's Hepatitis B. One of the most unsettling stories in WWW's history centers around a mid-card brawler known simply as Bloody. His name wasn't just for show. Bloody was known for hardcore matches, glass spots, barbed wire, and bleeding heavily in almost every appearance. It became his signature. The fans expected it. But in 2000, rumors began circulating backstage that Bloody had tested positive for hepatitis B, a serious blood-borne virus. Several former wrestlers later confirmed that no one was informed during his active run. At least 3 opponents were said to have shared blood with him in-ring, often unknowingly. WWW never made a public statement. Bloody was quietly written off TV. Some believed WWW knew, but kept booking him anyway to maintain the hardcore image. Others say Bloody wasn't diagnosed until late into his run, and when he found out, he disappeared from the scene entirely. A more disturbing rumor suggests his final match was pulled mid-taping after someone backstage found out. Mickey the Mink's prison sentence. Mickey the Mink started as a rising babyface in WWW, a cocky grin and a gimmick built around his namesake, a weighted mink tail he'd sneak from his gear to clobber opponents. The crowd loved him, a sneaky good guy who bent the rules just enough. But things took a wild turn in 1999 when Mickey was sent to prison on charges the company never officially acknowledged. That should have been the end of his run, until he broke out of prison and appeared unannounced at Royal Rumble 1999, revealed as the mystery opponent for NOLD in the world title match. Security reportedly tried to intervene backstage, but the match was allowed to continue, and Mickey was rearrested later that night. Shockingly, just months later, Mickey reappeared again at Broken Down, this time in a no DQ match against Yellow P. He arrived, attacking with the mink tail, winning the match only to disappear before police could reach the ring. His current whereabouts are unknown. Popular theories include he had help from someone within WWW, allowing him to sneak in undetected. The company used real legal drama to build a shoot-work hybrid storyline. And some claim Mickey was never arrested at all. Whether he was a clever gimmick, a real outlaw, or something in between, Mickey the Mink's legacy is chaos in motion. No promos, no farewell, just a trail of broken rules, broken cuffs, and one unforgettable mink. Rabies. One of the strangest and shortest careers in WWW history belonged to a wrestler known only as Rabies. Debuting in August of 1999 on an episode of Fight Night, Rabies had a wild, unhinged gimmick, foaming at the mouth and scratching at himself mid-match. His opponent that night was the powerhouse brawler Roadblock. The match was sloppy, erratic, and hard to watch. Made worse by a bizarre technical issue, radio signals began bleeding into the live feed. cutting through the commentary with bursts of garbled speech and emergency tones. The audio was never explained and was missing from later tape copies. Shortly after the broadcast, Rabies reportedly died, and whispers spread that his gimmick wasn't just a character. Some believe he had actually contracted rabies before his match and was actively symptomatic in the ring. Whether it was method acting taken too far or a deeply unsafe oversight, Rabies was never seen again, in the ring or out of it. The Saint. First appearing in 1998, the Saint was a man possessed, fueled by rage, rejection, and the weight of a world that, in his words, left him to rot. He claimed to have nothing, no family, no home, no peace. And he made it the crowd's problem. He led a vicious faction known as the Outcasts, wrestlers who were down and out, broken, or just angry enough to join his crusade. But not everyone bought the martyr act. Rumors swirled that the Saint actually lived in a gated community. He was allegedly prep-schooled, with private tennis lessons as a kid. One fan snapped a photo of him gassing up a luxury convertible in full ring gear. Despite the controversy, he was a performer fans couldn't ignore, and he had the resume to prove it. The Saint was a two-time Royal Rumble winner, a feat few could touch. Bone Crusher. Every generation has a brawler you can't forget, but Bone Crusher made sure you couldn't walk away. Bursting onto the scene in 1997, Bone Crusher's gimmick was simple: destroy the joints. His signature move, the aftershock, involved grabbing a limb and thrashing it like a rag doll until officials intervened. After retiring in 2001, Bone Crusher opened the Bone Wellness Center, a sketchy backroom clinic that promised real pain relief, no questions asked. In 2005, it all came crashing down. Multiple reports of injuries led to an investigation. The final straw? He tried the aftershock on a local news reporter during a demo. Bone Crusher was sentenced to prison, where, ironically, he now works in laundry. Folding, not crushing. Unlicensed music. In the Wild West days of regional wrestling, the WWW didn't just break chairs, they broke copyright law. From local gyms to taped pay-per-views, WWW wrestlers stormed the ring to music they had zero legal rights to use.
You guys have been using that song since the 90s, that's about 20 years. Give or take, you guys owe me, I'd say about $30,000 you guys owe me.
Whether it was Sugar Ray or the WWF's most iconic entrance themes, the promotion used whatever sounded cool, with no budget and even less permission. The cease and desists came fast and furious once footage hit national tape trading circles. One record label even referred to WWW as the most blatant copyright offenders in televised wrestling. Even Nirvana's legal team got involved after the Saint used Scentless Apprentice for his Royal Rumble win. As for the WWF, let's just say Vince noticed. In true WWW fashion, they didn't stop. Final level. The crowd wasn't real. For all the chaos, blood, and screaming promos, there's one mystery that still lingers in the dark corners of tape trading forums. Was the crowd even real? Some early episodes of Fight Night and pay-per-views contain no crowd noise at all in the original audio. Just the wrestlers grunting, referees shouting, and ring bumps echoing in a void. Other recordings show crowd roars and chants that suspiciously align with a Super Nintendo game. Cheers when no one moves, boos before the heel even cheats, perfect loops. In later versions, a much more polished crowd track was dubbed in, but the timing still felt off. The most bizarre theory? They had the SNES game playing in the background, and the microphones accidentally picked it up, and that became the official crowd track. And so, we reached the end of the noise, or the lack of it. the crowd that wasn't there, the cheers that came from a plastic cartridge and a flickering CRT screen. The more you look, the less makes sense. They said it was real. They said we imagined the emptiness. But I've seen the tapes. I've heard them. I've listened frame by frame. Why does the pop always start at 3.4 seconds after a slam? Every time. Every single time. Rock, paper, scissors.
You know what I like? I like beating these guys fair and square. Oh yeah, that's right.
There it is, plain as day. Mid-match, rock, paper, scissors. It wasn't storylines, it wasn't heat. It wasn't destiny, it was a game. This explains everything. This explains Mickey the Mink. This explains the 13-second main event, the footage of the wrestlers in a corner for minutes with their backs turned. What was this place? Were we watching wrestling or a playground game with blood and belts and fake crowds? Were we ever in control? Was anyone? Rock, paper, scissors. Fate. It was fate. Decided by hands, by fingers, by a gesture passed down by gods with no faces. I've been throwing scissors for hours, I can't stop. I think I'm booked to lose next week. Only 7. After everything, after the blood, the belts, the glass, the ladies, the disappearing tapes, and the phantom crowds, one final theory remains. A theory that casts a shadow so deep and absurd, it makes everything before it feel tame. The entire WWW roster was 7 people. Not 7 wrestlers. 7 people. Total. It's said that Creature, Piranha, and Kane Zoo were the same person, just with different masks and growls. Shotgun Ponyboy, NOLD, Skull, and even the gravel-throated Old Man Joe, all the same kid with a mask and a fake limp. Danger, Vulture, and Mickey the Mink, the same wide-eyed lunatic, one moment flying through a window, the next swinging mink fur like a crazy man. But not that crazy man. That crazy man was Messy Boy. Global Warning and Bone Crusher shared not only a theme song, but a spine. Super Freak, Roadblock, Bloody and the Phantom, one performer, 4 face paints, and a trunk full of fake blood. The punches were rehearsed, the chairs, container lids, the guns, toys, the screaming fans. WWF Raw on SNES. No one knew who was real, no one knew who was who. The more you dig, the more it spirals. There are scenes where one character is wearing face paint, and in the next match, another appears to have attempted to wash off the face paint. Masks sliding off, caught for one frame, revealing a familiar mouth, a repeated stance, the same stained pair of jean shorts. It wasn't a company, it was a delusion, a summer-long psychosis shared by kids with too much time and an old camcorder. They didn't wrestle for titles, they wrestled to exist. No records, no footage, no answers, only fragments, only dust, only 7. So here we are, the bottom. The WWW wasn't a wrestling company. It was barely real, a half-remembered fever dream shot on camcorders, run out of game rooms. Starring kids aged 7 to 14 pretending to be champions, maniacs, legends. The belts were cardboard. The crowd was a Super Nintendo. Everyone played numerous characters. No one remembers who actually won. The tapes? Mostly taped over or lost to time, probably under someone's bed, next to old empty Dr. Pepper cans. And yet, it mattered. It felt real. For a moment. Now, all that's left are flickers of footage, rumors passed around like ghost stories, and the haunting sound of a cheap entrance theme stolen from WWF Volume 3. You can try to trace it, try to organize the chaos, but you'll lose yourself. Because the WWW never made sense. It wasn't a federation. It was childhood, loud, messy, unhinged. And it's gone. But if you're quiet, if you really listen,